On Tuesday, February 20, the Prosecutor's General Office in Berlin announced the discovery of a large Russian-Eurasian money laundering network. So, according to the agency, it may be about illegal cash flows in the amount of several tens of millions of euros, the true origin of which was concealed. On February 20, a few days ago, the highest officials of Estonia announced the detention of 10 alleged agents of Russia who are believed to be members of an agent network that acted as instructors of Russian special services. In Spain, Russian special service shot dead a Russian pilot who last year transferred a Russian helicopter to Ukraine using a special program of Ukrainian special services. This pilot was found murdered in Spain. Before that, he was openly threatened with revenge and murder in Russia. Russian special services have widespread agent networks in Europe. This is not a secret. Even farmer strikes in Poland, which are blocking the Ukrainian border, are largely inspired by Russia. Europe must act to prevent Russia from influencing the European Parliament elections this summer. This is a question of protecting democracy, because Russia wants to destroy the principles of democratic governance in Europe. Recently, Iran provided Russia with about 400 missiles, most of which belong to the Fateh 110 group of Iranian short-range ballistic missiles. The radius of some of them is from 300 to 700 kilometers. So Russia will be able to shoot these Iranian rockets from Russia to Ukraine. The British research organization Conflict Armament Research, after examining the components of the remains of the ballistic missile that North Korea handed over to Russia to strike Ukraine, found that more than 100 components in this missile were produced by European and American companies. This is a very clear example of the fact that sanctions control over export to North Korea, Russia and Iran should be extremely strict. For the security of the world, the economic isolation of authoritarian regimes for control over military goods must be as complete as possible. The Russian army trains drone operators in one of the Syrian provinces for the war against Ukraine. This training is being supported by the Lebanese Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guards on the territory of the Syrian military airfields. Nepal, Afghanistan, India and Egypt. This is the list of some countries where Russians are recruiting for the war in Ukraine. After being trained in Russia, these people become a cannon fodder, valuing their lives at $1,000 in the best case. Despite the economic sanctions imposed on Russia, it still can receive huge profits from the sale of oil products. The Center for Research on Energy and Clean Air, an independent research organization focused on identifying threats, causes and health effects and solutions of air pollution, reports that since the beginning of the war, Russia earned 600 billion euro in revenue from the fossil fuel exports. European Union countries bought for more than 187 billion euros. Non-profit data analysis institution RAND states that military costs Russia is incurring as a result of its invasion of Ukraine as of September 2024 reached only $40 billion. Direct military spendings may amount to $132 billion through this year, actually. So it's very simple to calculate that only selling oil and gas, Russia earned enough money to continue finance the war in very, very good shape. Russia is conducting massive and powerful disinformation campaign targeting on European countries and European citizens right now. In the middle of the month, this month, February, the main intelligence department of the Ukraine, the Ministry of Defense of Ukraine, informed that Russia had started the massive phase of the Russian disinformation operation called Perun. As part of this operation, Russia plans to involve foreign journalists, media persons and bloggers to justify aggression against Ukraine and to cover the situation around Ukraine from positions favorable to the Kremlin. Here are some of the messages that Russian propaganda spreads in the information space. First message, first false Russian message: Ukraine is losing the war. Ukraine was really forced to leave completely destroyed city of Avdiivka due to the lack of shells, among other things. But we will remind you that losing a battle is not a losing the war and not a defeat. Russia has lost many thousand soldiers and equipment trying to take this city over the years. More than 20,000 Russian soldiers have been killed there since last October. In addition, see what Ukraine did with the Black Sea Fleet of Russia. It is disappearing, and this is indicative. The second disinformation message is that Ukraine cannot win this war. Many Ukrainian generals clearly know what Ukraine should do in order to take advantage and to start moving further into the occupied territories. Ukraine needs capabilities to wage in the war. None of the world's armies would probably be able to confront Russia with the amount of the weapons that Ukrainian army had at the beginning of the war. Therefore, it is a matter of having equipment and opportunities. The Russian army can and must be destroyed. The next fake message from Russia is that war is taking place only in Ukraine. Russia actively imposes this false message. It was the first probably message that Russia started to promote. There is also an unspoken agreement that Russia would not interfere with Europe and that war would only be fought only in Ukraine. So we know that this war is not only in Ukraine but also in Europe. This war also is done in the world as a whole, because see how many conflicts Russia supports around the world. Not only in Ukraine, the war in Palestine and the Red Sea is a part of the war that Russia started against the civilized world. Russia openly declares the hostility to the Western world, and inside Russia everyone has long said that their main enemy is Europe and United States. It's not a secret. Why then does Russia impose on you that idea that war only is going in Ukraine? In this propaganda, the fascist ideology of Putin regime, which Kremlin cultivated for many years, was started to be implemented due to one interesting psychological technique. It's called reflexive management. So this is, in short, two main principles of Russian propaganda that they use, and this technique of manipulation. Russia wants to put the control object into the reactive position and make it react. Moreover, what exactly this means, it does not important what the reaction will be of the object. It is important that object is reacting to the impulses that Russia imposed. So after the object start reacting, Russia can manipulate the environment and thus manipulate the object itself. It's a well-known psychological technique called the called the method of reflexive management. So we also want to ask you to support Ukraine and sign the petition online that was started by Brigitta Swedenborg, PhD of Economics, together with other famous Swedish signatories. This petition demands greatly increase Sweden military and financial support to Ukraine, improve the support for those Ukrainians who got protection in Sweden. Do this now because it might be too late. Yesterday there was an announcement from the petition author Brigitta Swedenborg. She wrote, the Minister of Defense of Sweden announced yesterday that Sweden will send a large package to help of the Ukraine. It refers to the requested military equipment worth 7 billion Swedish kron, which can be compared with the accumulated support to date of 22 billion Swedish kron. Yesterday's decision is a great step in a positive direction, but it is a small step compared to what we called for appeal in previous article. The announced package means an increase in Sweden accumulated support by 30%. We call for an increase of 300% to the level Lithuania is doing right now. Sweden still needs to do much more. We also ask you to remember that the full-scale invasion Russia started on the 24th of February 2 years ago is ongoing. And Russia actually started this war against Ukraine 10 years ago. On the February 24, actually this Saturday, there will be a big demonstration on occasion of 2 years of war organized by Ukrainian community of Göteborg. We invite you to support Ukraine and join this demonstration, which will take place at Gustav Adolf Square here, starting at noon. Thank you.